Welcome back to Exponential Africa. We will bring you the latest and greatest thought leadership and innovation to our African continent. And we are fortunate enough to be joined by Andrew, who is the co-founder of Project Everest, which comes out of Australia. And their mission is to try have social impact. We're using technology across the African continent, and they deal in such places as Malawi and all around Africa. Andrew, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what Project Everest actually does and how it started. How did you get into this?
Yeah, sure. So my background is actually engineering. I worked in a steel making firm for 5 years. As you can imagine, that doesn't really go hand in hand with social impact or even environmentally positive impact. And I hated it. It was, environmental non-compliances all the time. It was everyone at 4:59 would just want to, quit their jobs. Go home. Everyone wanted to quit. Everyone had nothing nice to say about what they're doing. And so I actually went over to India for about a month and saw the stark contrast as to what we were experiencing in Australia versus what they were experiencing in India. And I found that I could actually use my steelmaking background in engineering to enable social impact through water and sanitation, through solar energy and things like that. So I fell in with some amazing people, and we decided that we wanted to impact the developing world using a business model with a focus on technology, because technology is infinitely scalable. So we, over the last 3.5 years, have set up operations across Uganda, Malawi, India, Timor Leste, Cambodia and Figi.
Yeah.
And we essentially work within communities and within the social structures in those communities to roll out technology solutions to provide microfinance, solar energy. And now what we're starting to do is approach businesses who have tech ideas, who might be implementing that in Brazil or in the US, and actually saying, we'll take your technology and your idea, and we'll validate that in the market at an infinitely lower cost than it would cost for them, because we have tapped into this abundant resource of university students who can actually do that product market fit and validation based on what we teach them and train them.
Amazing. It's super exciting. So, have you had good results so far?
Yeah, we've had a lot of failures and we've had a lot of successes. So, the whole statistic of 1 in 9 businesses fail in their first year of operation is absolutely true. We've had to shut down a lot of projects where we would come up with the idea of what we want to focus on, we'd identify the problem and what that solution should be, but we didn't necessarily have the capability to create that digital platform or that AI or a network of drones that could deliver medicine or whatever else. But then we started to notice that there was companies like Zipline who have made 13,000 life-saving deliveries across Rwanda and Ghana,
yes.
Raised $190 million in April, May, and wanting to expand across the globe. And we went, well, what we actually have a lot of talent in is execution on the ground. So why don't we take those ideas, from them and essentially do that product market fit and market validation on their behalf. And so in doing that, we've taken on university research in the nutrition space and rolled out a nutrition app across Malawi. We are working in microfinance with village banks, which are social structures essentially created and monitored by women who provide loans to each other to enable investment in business, building their houses and just general support. And we just tie into those structures and support them by digitizing their e-books and providing mobile money for them to use as a source of capital.
Amazing. And it must be these problems that you're tackling are not simple, right?
No.
They're very, very tough challenges. They're like, at Singularity University, we call them the global grand challenges.
Yeah.
Which they're pretty, these are big problems to solve.
Yeah.
So, what's your approach? How do you go into a problem and how do you try and make it a solution? And what are you measuring as success?
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, SU have kind of identified the fact that the global grand challenges are what we should be focusing on. And the reason for that is charity models and government models go so far, but they're not the entire solution. And we need business to actually kind of fit into that. So the way in which we approach it, to me, seems rather simple. When you have a charity model and you offer something for free, you're in a position of power. And they have no option other than to say, yeah, I'll take it and thank you. As soon as you change that to a business model and you say, hey, we have a product or service we want to offer you, they're in a position of power to say, yes, that's something I want or need, and yes, I can afford it, or no, it doesn't meet my criteria, do better, come back later. And so our approach is, centered around human-centered design thinking, market validation, and we validate each section of the lean canvas by, essentially understanding what they want and what they need and what makes sense for them to invest their limited resources in. And then we kind of, using a technology basis, are able to then, not having huge margins, but having a huge market size, kind of go from there. And Africa's, the biggest emerging market that we have after India.
Very cool. So, and then in Malawi, what work are you doing in Malawi there?
Yeah. Malawi's like the testing ground. So there's 18 million people there, but all of the surrounding countries, in sub-Saharan Africa makes 285 million people. Now, if they're earning $1 or $2 a day, and you can look at what the opportunity is for their income to increase, that's like where we want to start. So in Malawi, we're working with village banks, as I mentioned, so providing microfinance and capital resources to them, which means we're actually not intervening. We are saying, here's the capital, you use it how you like, and they will make those repayments over 6 months back to us. And it's entirely social pressure on them to repay, because if one person doesn't repay, the interest rate that person B over here is paying will actually increase. So they make sure that everyone repays to keep their interest rates low. And then we're working in nutritional advice, health advice, solar energy, and then female sanitation and hygiene. 40% of women don't complete school purely because they don't have the means to manage their menstruation. So you educate the other 40% by providing them the means to manage that, and you're going to make huge changes to their entire economy.
So incredible. I mean, I think the work that you're doing is just hugely important and critical for the future of all of us as humans, as Africans, as people around the world, as a global citizen. So really big up to you guys for doing that.
Yeah,
and thanks so much for being on the show. It's
No,
really
absolutely.
great. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. And if you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube and to our podcast, Exponential Africa. And always remember, keep smiling.